Welcome. This video walks through the process I used to create a Ramayana YouTube series. I built the series chapter by chapter over roughly a year and a half, and during that time a few subscribers expressed interest in how the series was created. This video is my response to that. An important note to begin with: we are living in the middle of an AI revolution. We now have tools evolving so quickly that specific workflows like this may become obsolete in months, sometimes weeks. So instead of treating this video as a rigid how-to, I'd suggest using it as a way to think about general creative workflow that you can adapt to your own process. Software and hardware. First, here's the software I used. MS Word for scriptwriting, ChatGPT for editing and some research, voice recorder iOS for narration recording, MidJourney for AI image creation, Adobe Creative Suite, Photoshop for image editing and compositing, Audition for audio cleanup, and Premiere Pro for video editing. All of these are paid software, but there are free or trial alternatives for pretty much everything listed here. For hardware, I work on a MacBook Pro, equipped with a second screen and a Wacom tablet. I record voiceovers using my iPhone. The process. Step 1. Research. When I began the Ramayana series, I started with 2 books as references. However, early on in the project, I felt these resources lacked the depth for which I was looking, and so most of the deeper insights I ended up using came from blogs, discussion forums, and comment sections of related articles. The final series ended up being 48 chapters long. My general process was to read about 3 chapters at a time from my resources, deep dive into symbolism and hidden meanings, and then draft a script based on that research. Step 2. Writing. I write using a Word template with a 3-column layout: paragraph number, voiceover narration, and visual notes. If you're working with a team, this structure is very helpful. However, since I handle the entire production myself, I mostly focus on the narration column, with occasional notes in the visuals column. After research, I write a fast draft, not a perfect one. I'll often leave placeholders like XXX where I need to double-check names or facts later. The goal here is speed, to get into the flow, to get ideas onto the page, not perfection. I'll usually finish a first draft in one evening. For a 3-minute video, I'll aim for 350 to 450 words. I highly recommend Stephen King's book on writing for writing process and philosophies. Step 3. Editing. Here's where I typically use ChatGPT. I load my script and ask for edits and corrections where required. I don't necessarily use all the suggestions made in the GPT draft. I think you should try to retain your own voice as far as possible, even if that means choosing slight imperfections over something that's overly polished. I'll typically go through about 3 or 4 edit sessions, sometimes giving a day or so in between, so each time I approach the draft with a fresh mind. I recommend reading your draft aloud. It helps to pick up a lot of the errors in the story flow. Step 4. Voiceover. Once the script is final, I record the voiceover. I'll usually do this around 4 a.m. when everything's quiet. I record directly into the iPhone voice recorder app. If I make a mistake, I pause briefly and restart from the beginning of the sentence. This gives me visual markers to work with when I import the audio into Adobe Audition and clean it up. I'll sometimes make edits while doing the voiceover. Step 5. Storyboarding. Next is storyboarding. I have a Photoshop template set up, and with the script on one screen, I'll use my second screen and my Wacom tablet to sketch rough frame-by-frame visuals. These are not polished drawings, just enough for me to work out key elements and story flow. Step 6. Image creation. With the storyboard as a guide, I move into MidJourney for image creation. I'll use ChatGPT to help refine image prompts, then copy those prompts into MidJourney. For every final image you see, I'll usually generate about 10 variations. A single chapter may use about 50 final images, which means generating around 500 images per chapter. If the AI doesn't give me exactly what I want, I'll usually composite multiple images together in Photoshop to create a final visual for a particular scene. Step 7. Video editing. Once the images and narration are ready, everything is assembled in Adobe Premiere Pro. This is where I handle timing, transitions, motion effects, music mixing, and final polish before exporting the video. Step 8. Upload. The final step is uploading to YouTube. I'll add descriptions, include the voiceover script for accurate transcription, set the publish time, and then it's out there for the world to see. And that's my full process. I have simplified the steps for the sake of a quick overview. Each of the phases can get quite complex. I would typically finish a chapter a week, a few hours in the evening during the work week, and a bit more time on the weekend. I estimate each 3-minute chapter took me about 12 to 16 hours to create. If you made it this far, please like, subscribe, and comment. I hope this breakdown helps you on your own creative endeavors. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer all of them. Thank you for your time. Happy creating.
Thank you for watching so far. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're new here, please subscribe. This will ensure that more people can find this resource. Click the notification button so that you can be the first to know about new uploads. And please do comment below. I'll do my best to reply to any questions. Thank you.